Hey, roofers and HVAC business owners. So today we're talking all about what could happen when you ignore job costing and also how you can avoid these mishaps. So I know you all are busy, but if you have about 5 minutes and ask yourself this question about your roofing or HVAC jobs, then go ahead and stick with me just for a few moments, just for a few minutes. So if you ever finish a job, got paid, and then wonder, wait, you're right. So where did all the money go that I just spent weeks making? If so, know that you're definitely not alone. So today is all about me breaking down 5 costly problems that happen when you ignore job costing and how to avoid them. You all ready? Okay, let's get into it. So if this is our first time meeting, hey, I'm Marika, and I help roofing and HVAC business owners keep more of their hard-earned cash by tightening up their numbers, right? So over the years, I've seen too many roofers and HVAC business owners lose money simply because they don't have a handle on their job costing, but that changes today, right? So, all right, so first thing, let's talk about something I see all the time with my roofing and HVAC clients. So, if you don't know exactly what each job costs you, right, it's like trying to install a roof without measuring. Things just won't line up. And when that happens, right, money can leak out of your business fast. So, I want to get into, right, the 5 biggest issues that come up when job costing, isn't tracked properly. So the first thing I see is underbidding your contract bids and barely breaking even. So without job costing, you're essentially guessing on estimates, right? So that means you're probably bidding too low and barely making a profit, if any. So I do see this all the time with my clients before we start working together, right? Who underestimates material costs or they don't even factor in travel and setup time most times. So if you're not capturing your true costs up front, you're eating into your profits before the job even starts, and you actually can end up working for free, which we want to avoid at all costs. So the next issue I notice is running out of cash mid-project. So if you have ever, right, had a job where you're halfway through, but your cash is gone, right? So that's what can happen when you don't track your real expenses. So this can happen when, right, a roofing company suddenly realizes their materials bill is due before they collected their next payment. Or, an HVAC business dealing with big installs can get caught short when unexpected supply chain, delays force them to dip into reserves. Even hopefully they have a reserve, right? So all in all, job costing helps you plan your cash flow so you're never caught off guard. So now let's touch on paying too much in labor costs. So roofers and HVAC businesses owners, right? If you're not tracking time and labor on each job, you could be overpaying your crew without even realizing it. So, for example, one of my HVAC clients was shocked when we broke down their labor costs and saw how much, unbilled overtime was eaten into their margins. So even for roofers, right, not tracking labor efficiency means you could be losing money on jobs that are dragging out right longer than planned. So remember, job costing ensures your crew's time is accounted for and profitable. So here's one I see frequently, right? Inconsistent profit margins. So tell me if this sounds familiar, right? Some of your jobs make money, others don't, and you can't put your finger on why, right? So that inconsistency makes it impossible to scale your business. So I've worked with roofers who made great profits on shingle replacements, right, but lost money on full tear-offs, or HVAC companies that do well on service call, but struggle with big commercial projects. So the only way to fix this is to track your numbers job by job, right, and figure out where you're winning and where you're losing. So this adds to issue 4, right? Not knowing which jobs are actually profitable. So ask yourself, if you're working hard, but also are you working smart, right? So this is just a tidbit here. If you're not tracking jobs profitability, you could be pouring time into jobs that are costing you money instead of making you money. So I've helped roofing companies, discover that their bread and butter jobs weren't as profitable as they thought, right? HVAC businesses that assumed big installs were their money makers, but actually saw better returns on maintenance contracts. So, when you start tracking your job costs, you get clarity on what's actually making you money. And that should be the real goal for. So now that we spoke about some issues I've noticed, let's now talk solutions, right? If you want to stop these problems, you need a simple job costing system. And here's what to do. So the first thing to do is track your materials and labor for every job. So of course, the best way to stay on top of your job costs is to use accounting software designed for construction, like QuickBooks, set up for contractors, or Builder Trend. There are many other softwares that you can research and find the best one for your business. So these platforms help automate the tracking process and integrate with your invoicing. So if you're not ready for that, right, a simple Excel sheet can do the trick. But what you don't want to do is rely on, in my professional opinion, is pen and paper, right? It's way too easy to lose track of important details using this type of system. Like, for example, I remember I had a roofing client who used to write down costs in a notebook, right? When we reviewed his numbers, he realized he was missing thousands in material costs just because receipts got lost or weren't recorded properly, right? Once he switched to a digital system, his profits became way more predictable. The next fix is to compare your actual cost to your estimate. So after each job, don't just move on to the next. Take a few moments to compare what you thought it would cost versus what it actually costs. So doing this helps you refine your pricing and avoid underbidding in the future. So use your accounting or job costing software to pull a report on the job's estimated versus actual cost. If you're using Excel, you can set up a simple column comparison, right? Look at your material costs, labor hours, right? And any unexpected expenses, right? If something went over budget, ask yourself why. Maybe you underestimated labor time or material prices increased without adjusting your bid. So the more you analyze this, the more accurate your future bids will become. So now the last fix is to ensure you start to identify your problem areas. So if you're always going over budget on labor, maybe it's time to adjust how you schedule your crew, right? If materials are the issue, you might need better supplier pricing. So let's say you estimated $10,000 for materials on a roofing job, but when you look at the actuals, you spent $12,500, right? That right there is a 25% overage. So where did that extra cost come from, right? Maybe supplier prices went up or you underestimated waste. So now imagine your labor was budgeted for 100 hours, but it took 120 hours, right? So that extra 20 hours at $40 per hour just cost you $800 more than expected. So you can see, right, if you're not reviewing these numbers, you'll keep repeating the same mistakes and, and slowly eat away at your profits. Hey, Marika, I'm running a small roofing business in Texas, and job costing seems like a lot of extra work. Is it really worth the time? Yes, absolutely. So now it might take you 10 to 15 minutes per job, but it could save you thousands in lost profits, right? So as an accountant, I like to show the numbers. So say you're underestimating labor and material costs by just 5% per job, right? If your average job is $20,000, that's $1,000 per project slipping away. Now multiply that by 20 jobs a year and you've just lost $20,000, right? Money that should be in your pocket. So think of it like this. Would you rather spend 15 minutes tracking costs or months wondering why your bank account is empty? All right, so I know that was a lot, so let's wrap up. Right, here are the key takeaways. Track materials and labor for every job, right? Compare actual costs versus estimates. Identify and fix problem areas. So take 10 minutes today, review your last job, right? Were your costs what you expected? If not, job costing could be your solution. So remember, this is just a start. If you want a deeper dive into job costing, check out my latest blog. This is the real reason your job costing is wrong and how to fix it at my website. In it, I talk about why job costing is critical for roofing and HVAC businesses, the number one mistake most roofers and HVAC businesses owners make, how to calculate job costs correctly, step-by-step breakdown, and quick fixes to get job costing right and avoid profit loss. And if you're serious about boosting your profit, schedule a free profit and tax analysis with me. We'll help get your we'll help get your numbers right, right? We'll help get your numbers right. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Marika, here to help you make more money on every job. See you in the next video. Bye.